No matter whether you're a wrestler or just a normal human being, eventually you're going to need a new gimmick. For example, I often call myself the bald a-hole for obvious reasons, but eventually I'm going to go to one of those clinics, I'm going to grow my hair really long, and then people can call me the ponytail. Well, I'm not going to say it. But if we do focus on WWE right now, I think it's fair to say there are a few people that could go through the personality car wash. So, hello, my name is Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 WWE superstars who are in desperate need of a new gimmick. Number 10, TBar and Mace. Somebody please explain this to me, because Retribution are done, and yet TBar and Mace still exist, and for some reason, WWE has one of them Raw and has the other one on SmackDown. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It's almost like WWE doesn't have any plans for them, which is a little bit misguided, because Mace, when he was Dio Madden, showed us that he had something, and obviously TBar is Dominic Dijakovic, and if you have seen Double D in NXT or the indie scene, you know at the very least he's capable of really good matches, so why don't we let him go do that? The shining light is that recently Mace actually did team up with LA Knight on a segment that aired off the cameras on SmackDown, so let's keep our fingers crossed that something happens there. And as for TBar, well, I have no idea. I mean, he often just turns up on Main Event. I think we can do more than this. Number 9, Apollo Crews. For a while there, Apollo Crews' new Nigerian royalty gimmick was actually okay. It was quite clear that Apollo was going to throw himself into this. It got him back onto television, and he even became the Intercontinental Champion. I mean, this was far better than when he used to vanish all the time, but after a few months, I think Vince McMahon got bored of this. Then we were back to this vanishing act. I mean, people soon forgot that he even held this championship, aside from when he was allowed to fight Big E 7,982 times, and recently he has just been used as a background figure in other people's segments, so it's time to shelve this and come up with something new. I also really don't see how the powers that be don't notice what they have with Apollo Crews, because once again, you can put him against anybody, and even though he's like super mega jacked, he will fly around the ring like a dove. So even if we have to give him some kind of manager, because you don't want him to talk, for the love of everything, we need new bodies, and there's one really good run there. Number 8, Aaliyah. A running theme on this list. Where the hell did Aaliyah go? I mean, she was breaking fictional Guinness World Records at one point until she threw up on herself by accident, and ever since then, she hasn't been allowed back on SmackDown. It probably didn't help that her whole gimmick was just smiley, happy, la-la dancing lady, although she did have that thing with Ricochet for about 1 week, but once again, we just threw that by the side. So what we really need to do here is we need to bring her back to TV and give her a personality that has some edge, so that if she does go up against the likes of Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch, we at home, the fan, can sit there and go, well, maybe, just maybe she can win, even though she'll still definitely lose. So the problem right now is that nobody is really buying her. That's not Aaliyah's fault. You have to give her the tools in order to do her job. At the moment, let's face it, if she can even get a wrestling match, that'd be better than where we are now. Number 7, Zaria Lee. What is the deal with this? Because apparently, according to the story, Zaria Lee is a superhero, but she only turns up to help somebody when she can be bothered. And I'm sorry, but that is a really crappy superhero. In reality, all of this was tied into Aaliyah, who we have just spoken about. So when she was not being used, I think everybody also forgot about Zaria Lee, which is doubly upsetting here because at least she had the really cool entrance. Could we not double down on that? The real problem is that she had only just debuted on SmackDown when this start-stop momentum started to happen, and you cannot do that when somebody first arrives, because we, the fans, well, we get a little bit bored. It's like, well, I'm not going to invest on you because I don't know what you're going to do next week. I mean, if you do continue this now, you have to explain, one, why she actually wants to protect people. But what I would do is send her away for a little while, come up with a brand new idea. Let's try round 2. Number 6, Madcap Moss. And finally to one that makes sense. Because the Madcap Moss persona actually served a purpose. We teamed him up with Happy Corbin. They had an obnoxious act for a while before Madcap had an epiphany and was like, you're not a very nice guy. I don't want to be with you anymore. They broke up. I'm going to assume Madcap Moss will eventually beat Happy Corbin, and then we're off to the races. I mean, that is how you do wrestling. And the next step should be Madcap changing all of this so he can establish himself as a unique and an individual star. And also, if you do get rid of the suspenders, maybe, just maybe in the future, he could even be a big deal on a WrestleMania. And he's got the chops too, because over the last few months, he keeps winning people over as they go, well, he is a little bit silly, but he clearly does have talent. And it is so nice to see it done this way. Get the most out of a character, use it to get to the next level, and then move on to something else. So, of course, I now look forward to Madcap Moss being the exact same person in 12 months' time. Number 5, Happy Corbin. And speaking of Happy Corbin, he could probably use with a little bit of a shake-up too. A man who does not get the credit he deserves, because you can throw any kind of idea at him and he just makes it work. I mean, like me personally, I would have liked to have seen Sad Corbin just go on for ages and ages, because he was actually getting some sympathy with this. But I would imagine that is why we killed it, because Vince McMahon was probably like, no, I want you to be a bad guy. Either way, though, Baron just embraces all of this and absolutely smashes it. But when you do look at the SmackDown roster right now, something it is missing is serious people that could challenge for the World Championship. So given that Baron Corbin is absolutely massive, something else we forget about, maybe we could go back to this attitudinal adjustment and give him a big old push. I mean, given how much people did get behind him when he was broke and down on his luck, you could even go the other way, and I secretly keep my fingers crossed that we do go back to this, but ultimately, it doesn't matter. Baron Corbin could turn up to work one day and you say, oh, Baron, you're going to be a fish, and he would find a way to be the best damn fish you've ever seen in professional wrestling. Number 4, Rick Boogs. This will be an interesting one, given that Rick Boogs just suffered a serious injury at WrestleMania, and as ever, as we are talking about it, all that really matters is that he gets back to 100% health. Wrestling comes in second. When he does return, though, it may be worth switching things around a little bit when you start to think about his long-term future. Because while I love his 1980s strongman gimmick, I actually think Rick Boogs has some kind of connection with the WWE Universe, to the point, once again, if you did give him something more serious, well, I could see him going to the top of the card. Also, at the moment, while he is super fun, his gimmick is basically, I love Qatar and I love Shinsuke Nakamura, and that can only go so far. So if we can just bottle what he does have, but present it in a different way, I think this has a massive upside. I'm not saying that he has to come back and change things instantly. You can plant the seeds and do it very subtly, but I tell you, keep your eye on Rick Boogs. He is going to surprise many of us. Number 3, the Viking Raiders. Man, this one is tough, because one thing that WWE definitely needs when it comes to its tag team division is really good tag teams. They have one on its books, signed away, and what they decided to do was treat them like literal Vikings. The real error was the name and the fact that they get told they have to act like they fell out of a time machine as they eat meat right off the bone. And do you remember everything that happened in that Usos feud? If you don't, keep it that way. It does not make for happy brain time. And if you need proof of any of this, just go watch anything they did in NXT or New Japan and you will realize that they can really go. And instead, in WWE, they have to pretend they're from the 9th century. I mean, it really is madness, because there is a gaping hole here that 2 giant dudes could absolutely fill. And as of me saying these words, they have barely been on television. I will shake my head till the end of time. Number 2, Ezekiel. But not yet, because this is excellent. Because if wrestling is solely there to entertain, everything that the former Elias and Kevin Owens is doing right now, with Ezekiel, the apparent younger brother of Elias, is absolutely brilliant, it's absolutely entertaining, and I look forward to it every single week. Eventually this will run its course, because that's just the way with these kind of gimmicks, and it's why I really hope that WWE has a long-term plan with this, maybe through SummerSlam, because then Ezekiel/Elias will have a brand new lease of life, and you can start to treat him a little bit more seriously. There's that word again. In a dream world too, what would happen here is that Owens would go absolutely nuts and get committed or suspended from the show or something, and then on the very next episode of Raw, Elias comes out with his guitar, but ding ding ding, and he shrugs like, oh, what happened? I don't even know. And I suppose there is a small chance of this happening. I would say I'll keep everything crossed. I'll do it with my toes. Number 1, Nikki Ash. We did give this a really good go and bless Nikki Ash for going to Vince McMahon and getting this on TV. For a while it did really work and it sent such a good message to kids, and you can't get mad at that unless you are a sociopath. Sadly now WWE has turned her heel, and that has just led her to the 24/7 title picture, and for some reason, no matter the scenario, she always has to wear her superhero getup. And that ain't helping anybody. Nikki Cross has also proven time and time again that she more than has a place on the main roster, so we just have to accept that this has run its course and come up with something new. But isn't it crazy that we had that awesome storyline with Nikki and Alexa Bliss, and now both of them are lost in the shuffle. I mean, the one saving grace here, if we're not going to change things around, is to do a Zaria Lee versus Nikki Ash storyline, where we have the good superhero versus the villain. But let's face it, there's more chance of me growing that hair than that happening. So let's just do what this list is telling us to do and start again. Know of any other WWE stars that desperately need new gimmicks? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com where you can read yourself some articles. Make sure you come say hello to us on social media. And I tell you, we have a load of videos and they're calling out your name. Brian. My name is Simon What Culture. Thank you for watching. As always, you take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.